Hi, it's Dr. Meg Haworth here, offering holistic wellness solutions for women with chronic illness who were also sexually, physically, or emotionally abused as a child or had family dysfunction. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to my website at meghaworth.com, meghaworth.com. And one of the things I love to do is to bring on experts who can help you with your holistic wellness. And I know this expert I'm bringing on today is Ryan Sternagel, and I'm very excited to invite him on. He and his wife have a child who was born with cancer. So it was really a tough road the two of them went through in order to get him the help that he needed. And all of the things that they learned along the way was wow, significant. So I'm just waiting for Ryan to come on now. But it's really important to know that there are so many things in our environment and around us, from the cleaners that we use every day on our countertops to the Wi-Fi in our houses. So Ryan is really the expert, and he knows what he's talking about. He and his wife have researched this inside and out. So I'm gonna invite him on. Right now to the mix. There we go.
Hey, there we are.
Hey, there's my friend Ryan.
All right, Meg.
So nice to see
Very
you.
nice to see you.
Yay. Well, what a great background. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, I was when we were trying a moment earlier, I thought I'd be a professional. I was on my computer. I didn't know that didn't work, but I was kind of downstairs in my dungeon office down there, so this gives me an excuse to give you a little better scenery anyway.
Nice. All that fresh air there in Colorado, right? Or Utah, right?
Park City. Yep.
Park City, Utah. Wow. It's beautiful. I'm just like, I'm mesmerized by the trees. I live in the city. I'm looking at buildings. So, the city of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's gonna be a whole lot more of them, and
yeah.
we're maybe, I don't know. We've been saying we're like 3 weeks away from being done with our new house, like really out in the middle of the woods. But we've been saying
Yeah.
that for the last few months. So at some point we will actually be in our new house, and then we'll be fully non-toxic and
Awesome.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
woods and all that good stuff. So it'll be fun.
Well, this is a great jumping off point. I was just telling the audience that you and Teddy, your wife, have had to deal with some major challenges with your son Ryder, with cancer from a very early age, from really birth. I guess you found out around a year old. So toxic home is something you are a major expert at. You really know what you're talking about because you spent so much time researching this. So you're now building a house, non-toxic home from the ground up. So I think a lot of people want to know about that, and they want to know what that's like.
Uh, Troublesome.
I don't know where to start. Start with a
Yeah,
foundation.
talk to your contractor about every little thing that's going to happen if you're going to do that. That's for sure. But yeah, like you mentioned, we've been going through we went through childhood cancer. Power of words, talking to the expert on that here. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yes.
we found out
Done.
Ryder had a cancer diagnosis at 11 days before his first birthday. Our son Ryder, and it's not the news any parent wants to hear, of course, but we were already fairly well naturally inclined and had seen a bunch of natural health documentaries and alternative cancer documentaries and all that sort of stuff. So that's the direction we've gone from the get-go, and the health journey ended up bringing us out here to Park City, and we knew that we wanted to minimize the amount of treatment he got, and we were able to stop, or actually take a wait and see approach, as they called it, like kind of halfway through conventional treatment, and that wait and see approach has lasted for the last 3.5 years. So we're feeling pretty good about that. But it's when when something like that happens, it just becomes really apparent, if it wasn't already apparent, that just something, or more likely a lot of things, are just kind of wrong with I don't know, with the world, with our living environment, with everything, with the food. I mean, we've gotten beaten over the head with the food thing enough, but I think one thing that, you know, kind of lacks a little bit is just, you know, you hear more and more about the environmental cause of disease, and really I mean, the environment, it's kind of everything. I mean, it's kind of even your food, you know, it's your food is in the environment that you're eating from, I guess you could say. So while we did everything we possibly could to reverse the cancer, you know, be it conventional treatment or alternative therapies, or just, you know, shoving juice after juice after juice after a smoothie down his throat, you know, all this stuff. That was part of it, but the other half was, it was like kind of remove the source sort of thing, you know, because you know, like adult cancer, they can kind of try to explain away sometimes why the rates are rising, because you know, we're living a little longer now, so that I guess that means that we all inherently should get cancer at some point, and so that's why the rates are rising, which you can argue against that one pretty easily anyway, but that has no bearing on why childhood cancer rates are going up, you know, right along with it. So, you know, we just knew that with whatever we did, with whatever treatment path we did, or all that type of stuff, what we really needed to do was also make sure that whatever caused it in the first place was no longer present in Ryder's life. So that's been kind of the other half of our journey, along with all the alternative treatments, or whatever you want to call it, is just really living in the most pure environment we could. And that has, you know, been, that's why we, like, when we were trying to find this house to rent that I'm in right now, we probably looked at a good 50, 60 houses before this one. And we walked in with our little EMF meter. You know, we all had like the tinfoil hats on to the, you know, to the realtor or whatever. And it, like, the way in Utah, we were actually down in the Salt Lake Valley for a while, but it's like kind of, it's real, the you know, everyone's kind of packed in down there. I don't want to say it in a bad way, just because I love it down there, but the houses are very close together. And so it, you know, there's a lot of electro smog, if you want to call it, wherever you go.
And this is an important thing. You brought up the EMF meter. I think a lot of people don't even know what that is. Can you talk a little bit about EMFs and how they affect the body?
Yeah, so electromagnetic fields. So there's electric fields, there's magnetic fields, and there's electromagnetic fields, which are kind of a combination of the two. But really, I mean, it's anything that is, at least as far as the electromagnetic fields go, would be anything that's like a wireless communication. So your Wi-Fi router, your cell phone tower, all of this stuff that enables the, you know, your Bluetooth, all this stuff that enables like the conveniences of wireless communication. It also emits these signals. I mean, they're wireless signals. You can't see them, but they're there. Just like, you know, you can't see like, you know, you and me flying through the air to get to my phone. You know, you can't see it, but, you know, we are like, that signal is flying through both of us.
All day long.
Yeah. So
you know, we've got our Wi-Fi routers on, and they're emitting the signal just so we can have this conversation, which is fantastic, you know. And I know you're not suggesting that people get rid of their Wi-Fi, because obviously we're using this great technology, but there are things that people can do to lower their EMF.
Well, and just to let you know, so I mean, we're talking on the phone right now, and so I'm using like my cellular data, but I'm not using like a wireless internet connection. We actually don't have Wi-Fi in our house. There was a time when the internet came out back in, and at the very least, turn off the Wi-Fi at night. I should say that, because even if you can't ditch the Wi-Fi altogether, at least turn it off at night, because there are, you know, back to where we were going with that, is there are just, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say thousands of studies now on the, the
Yeah.
negative impact on, on human health. That, so we're doing this Toxic Home Transformation Summit, which we'll talk about in a second. But I was interviewing Dr. Mercola on there, and that's pretty much all his talk was about was EMFs. And I haven't had a chance to go back and fact check this yet, but I really don't doubt it. He was saying, there's a certain energy to the earth, like a natural energy that's, it's emitting its own electric field or electromagnetic field, that sort of thing. The amount of electromagnetic fields that are in our environment today as a total, at least according to Dr. Mercola, which when you stop and think about it, I really don't doubt it, are a billion times what that natural energy of the earth is. So, I mean, when you think about that, and when you think about what's natural, like what were we, what have we been exposed to for thousands and thousands or even millions of years, depending on, I guess, how long you think we've been around. But, this amount of energy has only been introduced in the last, decade? So as far as like long-term health, it's completely untested. But as far as short-term health, there are, like I said, now thousands of studies out showing that, it's not a good idea. The Bioinitiative report back in 2012 showed, and it was like a gathering of very prestigious scientists and researchers and all that sort of thing. Even back in 2012, they were able to, gather all the available data and say how just how bad it is for you. I mean, it's like everything from leukemia to like anything that could, like a whole bunch of child stuff too, which really jumped out at me, like prenatal development problems, DNA damage, just the list goes on and on. So so yeah, I mean, that's when you talk about our son being born with cancer, more or less, that's something we took pretty seriously, because that is like pervasive in the environment. So yeah, we've made steps, and like we started talking about, at the very least, we definitely always recommend starting off by turning off the Wi-Fi router at night. But we actually have, our router, everyone's router has slots in it for Ethernet cables. Those things still work. Back in the 90s when the internet came out, we had, you weren't using your Wi-Fi, you were using Ethernet cables. So we just ran an Ethernet cable.
Hardwired up.
Yeah. We just, it was an evening's project to run Ethernet cables to everywhere that we have a computer or something like that in the house. And
okay.
And yeah, that's
that's great.
That's what we've done for that since. But yeah, as phones, I always make sure to like if I'm even if I'm expecting a call, it'll still be like, if we're hanging out in the living room, my phone will be in another room somewhere with just the ringer turned up, and there's just no reason to have
instead of keeping it in your energy field all day long. And we've seen a lot of women who will put their phones in their bras, or man who's walking around all day long with the phone in his back pocket. And they have shown, I've seen studies that have shown that it decreases sperm count, it disrupts your body's ability to have a baby, fertility. It's really, there's been an effect on fertility in that regard too. So there are so many things that it can affect, and I hear like teenagers sleeping with their cell phones under their pillows at night, and because they're waiting for texts from their friends and all of that. Parents, pull those phones at night, turn them off.
Yeah, speaking of at night, I mean, it's kind of the next step from not sleeping with your phone. But so even the wiring in your walls will emit an electric field. It's not it's not an electromagnetic field, but it is an electric field that it will disrupt your sleep. If you think about, if you're camping, most people at least will notice like they get a much better sleep, even though it's like rough on the ground and all that. You still get a great sleep camping. It's because there's no electrical disturbance whatsoever. And so like I said, even the wiring from your home will emit these electric fields. So like the first step you can do is just not sleep next to the wall. I mean, literally, like, you know, pull your bed out from the wall. You can also find the breaker where, you know, if you go to the breaker in your house or whatever, your apartment or whatever, find out which breaker is controlling the electricity to your bedroom and just shut off that breaker at night. And that may, you know, you may want to, if you have an alarm clock that's plugged into the wall, you'll need to get a battery one, or, you know, whatever, you figure out what you need to do. But that's an easy one as well. Or, you know, we're having, well, actually we're getting like special metal shielded wiring in the new house that you know, won't emit those fields. But what we're also doing in the house, and what people can do to their existing homes pretty easily, is install you have to have an electrician come out, but it's maybe an hour's worth of work for them, and you can install a kill switch on the outside of your room, which will just kill the electricity to that room for the night. And then yeah, it's another way to do it. So lots of options.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So, okay, so that's EMFs, and I mean, there's so many things. Well, let's talk about what you're up to. You're doing the toxic home transformation with Robin Openshaw, Green Smoothie Girl, a mutual friend of ours, and
Utah neighbor.
I'm really excited.
Huh? And Utah neighbor. Yeah.
And Utah neighbor. Yay! I'm really excited to talk about what you guys are doing, and you know, and I can't wait to see it myself, actually, because I know there's a lot I need to know. Even with as much as I know as a holistic wellness coach, you guys really know your stuff. So
yeah, and you know, it's funny.
Can you talk about the summit?
Yeah, it's that's what I was gonna say. It's, you know, I didn't think I was going to learn anything from it, just because we put so much thought into this stuff. But yeah, we learned a thing or two ourselves. It's been pretty neat. So yeah, like, you know, like we've been talking about, it's this has been a really big concept for us for a long time, is just tuning up our environment to be the healthiest, not only most non-toxic, but also kind of health supercharging environment that it can be. But we feel like that's maybe been, you know, it's getting popular to talk about EMFs. You know, more and more people are talking about using natural cleaning products in your house, or personal care products, or filtering your water. And there's reasons to do all this stuff, obviously, but it's like, it seems like nobody's really put it all into one place for people to just, here you go, here's absolutely everything you can do. So that's what we've done with the toxic home transformation, is literally, we got, I think it's 35 of our, you know, of our favorite health experts, all, you know, sitting around the table, so to speak. But, you know, it's interview after interview of all these different people, all talking about all of this different stuff that you can do to detoxify your home and just make it a living space that is promoting health and healing rather than sickness and disease, more or less. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's hard for a lot of people to hear, is that your home, it could very well be, we think it is, promoting sickness and disease, just by virtue of how most Americans live.
Well, yeah, and how you live.
And there's so many factors to that.
What's that?
And there's so many factors to that.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, if you haven't thought about this stuff, then there's there's definitely some room for improvement. And a lot of it's like really low-hanging fruit, you know, but it's like, you know, like I mentioned earlier, we get beaten over the head with the nutrition stuff, and rightfully so, because I'm still always blown away that, you know, more people don't realize just the importance of eating organic food and you know, not consuming pesticides and poisons on a daily basis. But, you know, think about how many times a day you eat or drink, even, versus how many times a day you breathe inside of your home, or just, you know, and like, you know, if you haven't, and now think about, like, when is the last time that you changed the filter on your furnace downstairs that's circulating air throughout your house? You know, for most people, probably never.
Or your air filter.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you can get a whole home air filter that's like really, 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 really good, and that's, you know, definitely a good option for those that can do it. But I mean, your regular, your furnace, it does have a little filter on there, and that'll filter for a little while, but those things are supposed to be changed every few months or every year, whatever it is. But I mean, it if you haven't changed it, nobody's gone there and done it for you, and like likely it's just really, 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 really dirty and actually circulating more pollution than if you just didn't have a filter at all.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Indoor pollution is what you're dealing with there. I guess there could be anything from mold spores and dusts and things that you, again, you're breathing in. And I think a lot of people don't think about breathing something in can make you sick.
Yeah, well, that's, there's like EMFs, mold is the other thing that is starting to get a little more awareness around how big of a deal it is, and how, you could very well likely have a mold problem in your house and not know it. It doesn't, just because you don't have like black stuff on the walls that you can see, it doesn't mean that it's not behind the walls, or that it's not in your ventilation ducts. That's the other thing. So I mean, maybe you're changing your filter, but maybe the actual duct work, the pipes that go inside your house that travel from your furnace or your air conditioner to your vent, there very well could be mold growing in there, and then that's circulating air, mold
and
spores that way.
Blown into the environment.
Yeah.
So.
And so getting an inspection is. But an inspection is really the way. Like, if you've never gotten a mold inspection, it's a few $100 to have somebody come out. But when you realize, like, how big of a deal mold can be, it's kind of money well spent. There's also like the really easy Band-Aid is just, you can go on Amazon and get these little, they're just called vent filters, and you can just put them right over your vents. And right under your, there's one that goes like slips on over the vent, and another kind that goes on under it. But I mean, they're literal antibacterial filters that just sit right at the vents. So at least, if you do have something in your ducts, at least most of that will get filtered by just these little, $10 vent filters on Amazon.
That's great. That's an excellent tip and an easy fix for people,
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. And I would imagine that the summit is chock full of all kinds of tips and things that you can do right now to lower your toxic burden in your home.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of runs the gamut. I mean, just from the low hanging fruit all the way up to, the best possible thing that you could do. And accompanying that, I have, like, when you register for the summit, you'll get our healthy home checklist that I've put together, which is just kind of, bullet points of all this stuff. So you can watch the summit and kind of find out why it's important, and get the explanation behind it, because the checklist is just, because I didn't want people to be like overwhelmed, and that's what happens with summits a lot. I think people like even don't watch summits just because they don't, they don't want to get overwhelmed by all this stuff, and they've been there before.
I don't want to. I do hear people say that. I don't want to know. But I mean, if you don't know, it can hurt you.
Yeah, it really
especially
can.
If you have a chronic symptom, like you cough a lot, or you get infections often, you're going back and forth to the doctor. That can be something that leads to an autoimmune disease that leads eventually to cancer. So I think when people start hearing the trajectory of what can happen over time, and you can do something about it today.
Yeah. No, we had, had Dr. Tom O'Brien on, and he's really, really, really very well spoken and very good at like describing the process towards autoimmune disease, because that's one of his big things. And I mean, really just the the environmental insults to the body is, it just keeps ramping up your immune system. And all of a sudden your immune system thinks everything's a bad guy, and that can lead towards, that can go down a slippery slope a lot of different directions. But it's, I think, and, with me and cancer, it's always here, like, everything causes cancer. We can't avoid it these days. Just, you just got to hope for the best. But yeah, that's true. I mean, nobody is, I won't say nobody, but I've definitely researched everything that can cause cancer. And it can be quite depressing. But at the same time, when you realize, well, what's the environment that I spend at least half my life in, if not much more? It is your home, and with a little bit of thought and effort, you have pretty much absolute control over what you're exposed to in your home.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, all of a sudden that gets kind of empowering. And, you know, with the summit, I mean, the main thing that a lot of people tried to hammer in, and what I always try to hammer in as well, is like, you know, don't feel like you have to change it all overnight. You've been, you know, this is how you've been living for years, and just, you know, another few weeks isn't going to like make or break it one way or the other, but just take one thing you learned every week and make that change. And, you know, identify what, if you want to budget for getting like a whole home water filter or something like that, you know, budget for that and put that maybe on the roadmap a little ways down. But I mean, just take one thing, and in the course of a year, you've changed 52 things about your home. And like, if you change 52 of these things that you know that we're talking about in the summit, you're pretty much there. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. That way it's baby steps. It doesn't feel so overwhelming, and so we have to do everything right now, you know. So I think that's great. It's a great way to put it. So I'm putting a link right now for the summit in the comments section. And if anybody does have any questions, we just have a couple more minutes, but if anybody has any questions for us, we would love to hear them. Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm so grateful for you and everything that you've done, and how you took one of the hardest things that I think could possibly happen in a parent's life, and you turned it all around, and you were really proactive and empowered, and how you're empowering other people to heal their lives is really inspiring. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing, you and Teddy.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. It was, you know, we just started putting everything we were doing on Facebook, just kind of because, and that led to my hands getting tired. That led to you know, led to a website, led to a podcast, led to a YouTube channel, and now we're, you know, and we just recently went kind of full time doing this stuff all the time, spreading information and inspiration. It feels pretty good, and so we're kind of looking forward to what we'll get ourselves into in the future. And this is certainly a cool way to start it off.
Yeah, so good. Well, thank you again. And everybody listening, please go sign up for the Toxic Home Transformation with Ryan Sternagel and Robin Openshaw, known as the Green Smoothie Girl. And they'll be interviewing a lot of experts in the field. I was very excited to hear Dr. Joseph Mercola, Dr. Tom O'Brien. You've got a lot of
Dr. Eric Zielinski, Dr. Marisa Snyder, Dr. Ben Lynch, whole lot of letters and you know, after everyone's name on there. But it was really good. And you know, we even had like you know, on YouTube, they're Justin and Rebecca Rhodes, and they're homesteaders. So they, you know, grow their own food and raise their own chickens and so on and so forth. And that's like the other kind of, we even got into growing your own food. And if you want to like set up a chicken coop in your backyard, it's really not even that hard, and you get fresh eggs every day. And so, you know, we even went that direction with it a little bit. So it's it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Great. Good. All right. Well, I'm excited, and I know I'm already signed up for it. So go ahead and sign up today. And thank you so much, Ryan, for being here and taking the time to talk to my community. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, Meg, and for letting everyone know what we're up to.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. Have a great one. And people will be able to watch this later. And if there are any questions that you have, you can throw them into the comment thread, and we'll see, we'll get them answered for you.